this might be close to everyone, so we will just jump in. I'm Michaela, and I am co-hosting today along with Desiree. And I'm the founder and CEO of Reverb. Desiree is a coach and consultant and loves to specialize in working with parents as well as schools. So, and we both have two kids. I will start. I have two teens. My 15-year-old is downstairs doing online school. My 18-year-old is part of Seattle schools and therefore has no school at all and is still in bed. And we have 3 cats who might show up at any time. How about you guys?
So for your older son, this is his last year then too, right?
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, he will graduate, but whether graduation will happen is in question, of course.
Right. That's hard. So I also have 2 children, as Michaela mentioned. Mine are 6 and 4, so first grade and last year of preschool. So one gift, I guess, is that if they miss some school, we're not messing up too badly. They're at the beginning of their journey, but it has been interesting. Right now, and we got a puppy to add to the mix. Good times. They are outside right now playing with the puppy.
Like there's going to be a puppy surge for sure. So we want to dive in. There are so many topics that are going on for working parents, and whether it's how to get some work done for families at home, how to take care of yourself, how to talk to your manager, if you've got kids at home, because there's probably no way that you can be super productive or get a full weekend. So it's really all on the table. We have some questions prepared, but we'd love if anyone has a question to start with, please go ahead. You can enter it into the chat and we'll see that. If you do not want your name, if you want to be anonymous, I guess, you can send your question to Kylie. And Kylie's there, and if you do that, she'll just read out the question. But hopefully we are in a safe, small group where everyone should feel comfortable. And then if everybody is okay, we'd like to record the call as well, and that way we can share it online, anyone who missed it or wants to refer back. So I'll give you a minute if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think Desiree is going to jump in and talk about things that are fun for her right now.
Yeah, so for me, it's been interesting. I have worked hard to get my kids into school, right? So this has kind of been like my first real year of having them both in school and getting to work more. And I'm also working on a PhD program right now. So it's definitely been a little bit jolting to have them all in my home office all day, every day. But I think, yeah, this is just a good time to have those conversations, and I'm excited to see kind of what's coming out of it in my own family. It's definitely been an adjustment, but I think my husband's working from home, and I just am super grateful that we're both able to continue to work. I think finding things to have gratitude around right now is really important, and just realizing how much empathy we need to have with each other and how much grace we need to give each other. The first week they were off, we kind of just jumped into it, and at the end of Monday, I told my husband, like, this does not work for me, and he's like, yeah, I know, I can tell, right? And it's just from then on, we've been having these kind of morning kickoff meetings as a family to say, okay, what does everyone need to do today? What do I need to cover for you? What do I need to have you help me cover? How do we divide and conquer? Kind of running our family a little bit like a business, right? And just being realistic with expectations. Yeah, we're not going to get an 8-hour day in of work. So what do we need? What are the essentials? What meetings do you have where you have to be present that I need to cover for you? And I'm a coach, so I have calls that I need to have quiet. And I think that's kind of been interesting too. For me, I know when he's on the phone, I got to get the kids out of the house because they're loud, they're crazy, and you can hear it in the background. But realizing too, that's not necessarily as obvious to him. So just being able to navigate those spaces and have those honest conversations and working on how I ask for what I need and how I listen to hear what he needs as well has been really good.
Yeah. I was saying, I think it was yesterday, I saw a post by Ijoma Aluo who wrote, "So you want to talk about race?" And she was just talking about, being crammed in the house with not just your kids, but your spouse, right? We're not used to being in the house together 24 hours a day. And she was like, "I'm trying to find nice ways to say, like, I need to be in a different room from you right now." Or, "Yes, you can sit next to me on the couch, but please don't talk to me." Like, because some of us just need that space and downtime, right? So there's some socially awkward conversations maybe that we need to be
But how
having.
do we make them less awkward, right? Like I think sometimes it's okay to get to the point to where you have to say like, look, I just need a minute, right? Or like even seeing with my kids, like my oldest, I've come to realize like quality time, like one-on-one time is something he really craves. And so I can see in his behavior when he's not getting enough of that. And so just starting to be mindful of what we each need and finding time to do that, but helping them to realize that they can ask for that too. Even with him, I'll see it coming and kind of say, you know what, Ben, like, how about we switch it up? Dad, you can help Will with school, and you and I will take a trip to the garden. And just helping each other to carve out the time for what we need.
Yeah. We're not quite as organized as Desiree. We're not having meetings, but we happened one. It was really funny. Actually, my daughter was studying yesterday, and can you guys hear me? I'm seeing. Okay, I got a little like your internet is unstable. Um, she was studying, and it was a little bit later in the day. So even I was between meetings. I was going to take a walk. My husband and son were talking, and for the first time, she was the one who was like, "Can everyone be quiet? I'm trying to focus." And I was, well, that's a role reversal. That's usually me. Um, but the other thing I pointed out is that I'm working, my daughter is in online school. My son, as I mentioned, has no school. My husband's a teacher, so he also has no school. So I assigned them, it was like, guys, like, here's the deal. She and I are working. She and I should not wash a single dish or do a single load of laundry during this time because you are 100% free. And we're doing it that way. And it's a good reminder. We've always had chores in the house, but I think my son's a senior, my daughter's a freshman, so they're both having big school years. I had kind of said, look, if if you're super busy, if you have a lot of schoolwork and then you have your sports and whatnot, I'm going to give you a little bit of a break on chores here, but that has shifted very much, everybody being at home.
Which is great, right? Those are great conversations. Like I was talking to someone the other day who's typically a stay-at-home mom, and so while maybe the housework and things typically fall on her, again, there's everyone now in her office, right? So realizing like that's a job too. So how do we now look at what needs to get done in a different way and divide and conquer and figure out how we're going to do all of these things? Um, Even the housework, like I know for me now that I'm working and my husband's working, we've relied on a housekeeper, but they can't come either. So this is now another discussion of like, this is one more task that we have to add back to our list. How are we going to juggle this? And just being honest with each other, right? Like your daughter saying like, hey, I need you to be quiet, guys. I think that's helpful.
Yeah. So there are a ton of directions this could go in. And so I'd love if anyone wants to weigh in. I mean, one thing we were talking about was there's kind of a grieving process that's going on. So not only we have all this extra stuff and people in the house, but we are, dealing with our own anxiety. There's like how to keep kids busy or distracted. I see if
Yeah, that's a great question that just came up is how the anxiety of loved ones and how you juggle the emotions. Um, I I have a background in emotional intelligence, so I'm all about talking about the feelings. We actually have a chart that we keep on our fridge we've made that's based on uh, the book Permission to Feel. He lays out a chart. I'd be happy to share. Yes, I will definitely. If do we have email addresses from everyone that I can just email this out later?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
can. Or if you have a
So
link, put it in the chat.
okay. This chart like not only allows you to learn a lot of different names for different emotions and work on your vocabulary, but it's magnetic. So we each have our own magnet where we can kind of put where we are at the moment, and we can start talking about like mommy's. And I use this opportunity to have these conversations with my kids and to allow them to have the conversation with me. Like, I'm feeling stressed right now, and it would really help me if we could just sit and read a book, or if we could talk about this in 5 minutes. I need to take 5 minutes, and helping them to tell me, Mom, I'm really frustrated. Okay, what should we do? Let's take a walk and we'll come back to this. And I think we're never at our best when we're stressed and anxious. So actually, the more that we can talk about it, it kind of, in owning that emotion, helps us to set it aside. It's no longer taking over. We can kind of have a perspective on it and see, oh, you know what's going on here? I'm feeling really anxious. And so that is what's going, I need to take a break and come back to this, or focus on something else. Or even in our kids, giving them space and grace when I see how they're acting sometimes, stopping to realize they're anxious in all of this too. They're missing their friends. They have these emotions of grief probably too. So how can I pause and give them a little more space or do something different? So I think just talking about my own emotions often creates the space for other people to feel comfortable in talking about them. So I always encourage people to show up as their authentic selves and just kind of set that precedent that it's okay. Tell me what's going on for you.
Does anyone have kids who are older, teens, or is it just me? Any? Okay, no. So I'm teens, because
Yes.
teens are different to navigate because they don't always, right? I have one who's a big sharer and doesn't share at all. But I will say, I think this is even good as we're navigating with our adult counterparts, is because things keep changing, right? And the rules changing, and the situation keeps changing, and people are inherently not good at uncertainty and unpredictability. So every time there's been a change, or like when it first hit Washington State, or we were deaths in Washington State, just kind of acknowledging, okay, things have changed, or, now we're barely allowed to go out. And so asking people, like, how do you feel now, right? How did that news affect you, is something that we've been doing. Oh, for me, talk louder. I know my headphones are just failing. Is this any better? Okay.
Mine is the same way. I've learned to hold it.
I'll do it. When headphones become essential again, I'll order more.
Yeah, I even like I had to have a conversation with the neighbor. Like, we just last week, we're good friends with our neighbors. And so some of us are kind of on the same page of like, okay, we're being careful, but we can talk to each other, or the kids can run around as long as it's outside and they're not too close to each other. We're all comfortable with that. But our next door neighbor had kind of been on the same page, and we had talked about, how do we divide and conquer? How can we help you cover meetings? How do we do this? And suddenly things shifted for them, but we didn't see any of the lead up to that. It was suddenly, we were outside on Saturday and they went out of their way to avoid us. They walked into the street, and kind of one of them sort of waved, but it was very strange. It was a very quick switch. And so I texted her and said, is everything okay? Are you guys, do you need anything? Are you all right? And she kind of texted back this note about how they were trying to do their part to flatten the curve, but again, just a switch. And again, how much can be read into a text, right? And so I took it and I kind of felt judged, and like suddenly I could sense she was fearful. And so we've had these texts exchanged back and forth over the last few days, and just for me, I've kind of gotten to this place of acceptance and hope where I feel like, yes, this is hard and messy and terrifying, and I get the fear. We don't even know what to be afraid of right now. There's so many things to be afraid of. The virus itself, the implications of what's happening economically, there's just a lot. And so I've kind of come to this place where I'm hoping we can see the goods coming of this, these conversations that we're having, this new flexibility with work that we're being forced to, but can maybe take with us. Like, I can see the light, and she's living in fear. of it. And she texted me yesterday of like, by the way, we're all going to get this at some point. And just, there's a lot of fear, and I don't know how to handle that, right? Like for me, I'm like, we're okay. But I think that's what's going on. There's just so much emotion. And so just having empathy, I can understand where she's coming from. Her husband's got some stuff going on that makes him more susceptible, or it would be more dangerous for him, but also just kind of being able to table it, right? Like I kind of thought back like, oh, let this not be like the Civil War that we're all so divided about where we're at. Like, how can we find empathy for each other and still overcome that?
Yeah.
Desiree, going back to what you were saying earlier, it reminded me of this. So I follow Rachel Simmons on Instagram, and she does a lot of talk about parenting and all that. And she was talking about something similar, just how to communicate with her kids during all of this. And she posted this this little like note that she slipped under her daughter's door, and it says, "I just want us to get along. I know you get hangry, and I wanted to try and prevent that so we can keep being nice to each other. I feel scared and anxious, and I think we need to work together." And then her daughter sent her back this note that says, "Dear Mom, I agree. I love you. Love, Esty." And it was so sweet because she wrote about how, you know, you don't always get the note back, but,
Right.
you know, I think that's another good method of communication that at least extends the olive branch, you know, whether or not you get a response or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
just starting that conversation and letting people know, like, you're not alone. And even if we don't see eye to eye, like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a low tech poll that involves raising hands. Two topics I'm thinking of. One is how to keep kids busy. The other is how to talk to your manager. So who wants to talk about busy kids? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, a lot. Okay. So we can start there. And then after that, does anyone feel like you want to figure out how to have a conversation with your manager about the fact that you might not be as available and productive? Okay, so let's do both. So, Desiree, I'm going to let you take it on keeping kids busy since yours are smaller and probably harder than mine.
So for me, I like structure. I know this about myself, so I think it's important. I know a lot of people are breathing a sigh of relief that they don't have to get dressed in the morning. Who's this cutie pie?
Oh.
She is cute. But I like to be put together. I tease it's like me putting on my war paint to deal with the day. So that helps me. So we've been trying to keep kind of a schedule. Like I still get up in the mornings. I know I need to exercise to be my best, and I know I need to put myself together. We still have been trying to. We have a family meeting around 8:30 to kind of talk about like, okay, boys, what do you want to work on for school today? What do you want to do? Rob is my husband. Rob, what coverage do you need? I let him know what coverage I need. And around 9, we do an hour of school. And I think being realistic about it too, right? We're not getting in 6 to 8 hours of school work, nor do I think we really need to. I often think back, like, how productive are we really at work? Are we really working all 8 hours? Probably not. So let's be realistic. And then we kind of go from there. So we've got an hour of school, and then we'll take a break, and they get free time. They get an hour of free time, and then we do an hour outside. We'll go to the garden. We'll go for a walk. We'll ride bikes. We'll do something outside. We've been baking. I like to bake. That's something I've been doing with them. Yesterday, I have my mother-in-law once worked at Williams-Sonoma, so I have every pan imaginable. And I remember thinking, this is insane. And what do you know? Here I am using them. She gave me a bug pan. We can make bugs. So yesterday we made bugs, and I let them decorate the bugs in the afternoon. So just projects like that. So we get through lunch, then we maybe do another hour of schoolwork. We let them watch a little TV, but I think just coming up with projects. And I keep thinking too that I listened to a podcast last year that talked about we no longer allow ourselves to be bored. So we're often missing out on these opportunities to get creative. So just thinking it's okay if your kids get bored, right? Like what comes of this? You don't have to entertain them all the time. Again, give yourself some grace, give them some space. Um, Depending on the age. Yesterday, my 6-year-old picked up my phone and asked to take a video, and I just let him, and he made this whole video of a tour of our house, and he read a book on it, and I love the part where he says, "My name is Ben. I was born in 2013, and I am 4 feet 1 inch tall." This is his little documentary. But just kind of there's so many tools out there to use. So I think just kind of finding what your kids like, what amount of structure you need, and being realistic about taking care of each other and building in that time to have flexibility and time with your kids, time to get work done. Again, as a family, how are you going to divide and conquer?
Yeah. There are also great lists that you've probably seen about all free things that are available on, watching the otters at the aquarium. I just shared one. Our friend Leslie Feinzag, who runs something called the Female Founders Alliance, is doing an online entrepreneurship class for kids of all ages. I'm going to share one more too from Erin Jones, educator and activist. She is doing different online, like one for parents, I think storytelling for younger kids, and then kind of social justice conversations for teens. So there are things too that people are offering. And Desiree said it, but getting outside, I mean, I don't know about you, but I notice how cranky my kids are by 4 o'clock if they have not set foot outside. And so I've been trying to push them out the door, whether it's with a soccer ball or even take a walk around the park, or we just pumped up all the bicycle tires. And I notice it for myself too, like, because usually what do? I mean, a lot of us get up and leave the house, if not every day, then several days a week. And so being cooped up, for 10 or 12 hours, it's not healthy and it doesn't feel good.
Cabin fever is real. Yeah.
Anyone, I mean, I know you're all doing this too. So if there are other ideas you have or links, friendly stuff, please throw them in there. I'm going to grab one more, and then Desiree, do you want to start sharing about how people might approach the conversation with their boss about what's really going on?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is, again, like, not in your family is a great place to be practicing honesty, right? Asking for what you need, telling people where you're at and how you're feeling. I think that's an important thing to start sharing with your manager as well. I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I have to be honest with you. I'm juggling my kids right now. And I know I have a friend who's like, oh, my daughter walked in on the meeting and I was so embarrassed and I was mad at my husband. I'm like, let your daughter walk into the meeting. Like, it's okay. This is life. We're all in this mess together right now. Like, and starting to help your kids see, like, when it's appropriate, saying, yeah, this is mommy's work, right? Like, my kids will walk into my online classes, or I try to, and knowing too when it's appropriate, not. If I'm doing a coaching call, then I let my husband know, like, I really need the kids out of the house right now, or I need them to be somewhere else so that I can focus. But if I'm on a class call or a meeting or something and they pop in, then letting them see a part of your world. And I think that even for managers, I think of this as an opportunity to start seeing what people's real lives look like. That's how empathy is built too, when they can start to see what's really going on behind the scenes and have an appreciation that, wow, okay, maybe they didn't get as much out of you today as they wanted, but whoa, look how much you did give, given what you're juggling, right? Like, it's starting to, and being realistic with them and honest of, this is what it is right now. This is what I can give you. I think it's important too, to be really upfront and not overpromise, to just start to help them to see, like, this is what's realistic for me, so that they can start to shift their expectations too, right? I think that piece of unmet expectations is a big issue. So how do you start to have those conversations? I think it's just starting to be realistic and be honest about what they can expect.
Yeah, and I think understanding what you can commit to, and if it is human possible for you to work full-time or to work full-time during the hours you used to, have that conversation, because this isn't about performance, right? I mean, these are just such circumstances that are outside of everyone's control. And I think take initiative to have that, and hopefully we all who are understanding, empathetic, but last thing you want is the manager in the back of their mind is wondering, well, are you not able to do a job, or you can't keep. So I think a good way to go about it is to take control of the situation by, coming forward yourself. And we've been spending a lot of time talking with an employment attorney, understand that, if you can't work full time because of school being closed or because of daycare being closed, because you're parenting and homeschooling, then it's really like some of the relief could apply to you. And even if that's saying, hey, I have to go down to part-time, and maybe you need to apply for part-time unemployment. So all of those rules aren't clear, but there's some solutions if you're just really in a position where you can't manage both. I see a lot of people put some really good resources in the chat, and we have people doing puzzles, playing board games. Yes, we played more Scrabble in the last week than we have in the last year. Listening to podcasts, which is great. Yeah, I'll try to, the Erin Jones one was kind of weird because it was on her Facebook page, so let me try to grab that once more.
I think, again, just realizing too, you're probably not the only one having this conversation with your manager, right? And I'm sure many of us have managers who have kids, and they're probably in the same boat. So starting to realize you're not alone, and hopefully you can even pave the way for other people that need to have these conversations.
Okay, I'm multitasking here very slowly. Okay, that should get you to Erin Jones, and then she has all the things that she's offering there.
I know that on her Instagram, she's also reading a chapter of a book every day. And I think those are saved on hers as well, because she was just saying how she loves reading out loud and loves sharing stories. So I think it's a middle school aged book right now, if that's applicable to anyone, but she's sharing that on Instagram as well.
Nice.
I know a lot of several Facebook groups have popped up too, of moms, people sharing resources that they're using. Mo Willems, the author, is doing a lunchtime doodle. Yeah, and just there's all kinds of different things that people are chipping in and doing, which is super encouraging. Great.
That's great. Oh, I see. Oh, looks like a great
Gold mine.
great list. Oh my gosh, joke of the day. I love this. Well, we have touched on a lot of basics and a lot of the things that have been on our minds. Are there other questions, or is there any topic that people want to explore? Otherwise, I'd love to hear your success stories. You can feel free to mute too if there's something you're doing that's working, want to share.
So I work at PEP's program for early parent support, and we have in-person meeting groups for parents with newborns and really young children. And so this has been a very tricky time for us, because it's instead of bringing people together, it's about social distancing, and we are transitioning from providing this support through online virtual groups. And so one key thing that we are trying to emphasize, I think even when you were talking about your neighbor, Desiree, I was thinking about this, that highlighting the importance of not being fearful about this, but also looking at it as an opportunity to engage in a very uniquely different way with each other. And trying to tell that meeting online is, also taking away some barriers for some other parents who are typically not able to go to other people's homes. And so looking at it as an opportunity and not necessarily always a barrier is a message that we are trying to spread to people.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny. I do think it opens up a lot of ways to participate in things that we wouldn't normally get to participate in. I mean, I know one in our life is we had a church that we went to in LA that we loved and that we've been missing. And so now you can go to any church you want to. They're all online, right? Like, so there are opportunities to participate in different ways, which is really cool.
Hi, this is Maria Alejandra. I also work for PEPS, and one of the things that I have seen that parents are finding as well is that now they could enjoy some milestones from their kids that before they were missing, when they were babies or even toddlers, or maybe even right now when they have older kids. They could find out that they are sharing some spaces that they didn't have anymore, or even having lunch with their spouse. So I think that is finding, as Swarnima was saying, those highlights in the everyday life that we could find. Because if we focus only in what is happening around us, in the noise of the news and all of that, it could be overwhelming. So we need to have like this positive idea of what is happening.
I
And
totally
the other
agree.
thing, and another thing is that I see it as a win. Is that now people is connecting more online. My family lives in another country, and we are usually connecting via FaceTime, Zoom all the time. And now I see other friends that they were like, well, I wasn't able to connect with my parents before with technology. And now their parents, their grandparents are getting along with all of this. So it's also the learning of new technologies for the different communities is a big win from this situation.
Yes. I saw something the other day about, and I agree, I hate this term social isolation or social distancing because I feel like we actually need each other more than ever, right? Like I know for myself, having these kinds of connections and conversations help to really ground me. And so they were pointing out it's really physical distancing that we're shooting for. We're social beings, so we need each other. So finding new ways to connect socially are actually really important.
Yeah, and thanks for highlighting the positives. I agree with that too. I mean, my kids, they had such busy schedules before this with school and then after school sports that we've now sat down as a family for dinner more times in the last week than we have, since I can remember. Plus, I also cook dinner because I have to cook dinner. And so it is a way to reclaim a little bit of time back. And just speaking of the multi-generational technology, my parents are almost 80. They've been in their book club for over 4 years. And then for the first time ever, they had a virtual book. So, pretty amazing what they can learn and what they can do. And I think it's right. I hear people highlighting a lot of positive and challenges are obvious. And so I do think, taking that time, and Desiree kicked off that we do need to be grateful for what we have and what's working right now. Otherwise it's too gloomy, to be really honest.
I think so. I know there's a lot of grief, and I heard a lot of times people saying, I just want things to get back to normal. And there's part of me that thinks, actually, I think the grief comes from realizing that we're never going to be the same, right? This has changed us, and I kind of hope that it has. I hope that actually we can become something better from this, that we can see this flexibility and this time we're spending with our families and these new ways of connecting with people, and we can take these good things forward and be better than we were before. But I understand the grief. Like I think of when I moved to LA a few years ago, I had a hard time adjusting and rebuilding, and my husband told me, we can just move back, and we have moved back. But I remember telling him, of like, yes, we can move back, but there's no unseeing what we've seen. There's no going back and stepping into our old life as it was. We're different people. But I hope that we're better people, and I think that we are. I know I came out of LA a different person, and I'm grateful for that now. So I hope that we walk out of this and don't go back to our lives as they were, but we build something better from this.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave us with a note, which is I was just listening to the new Brene Brown podcast, which definitely worth checking out if you haven't already.
I was just pulling up that website, Michaela. That's so funny.
It's so time, and because she recorded it, or at least she recorded the introduction, now in the middle of all this. And one thing she was talking about was that, you know, I think all of us here are clearly fortunate that, you know, we do have our homes and we have space, we have a place to work, we have our family around, but it's also okay to acknowledge our disappointment and our kids' disappointment. And we have to, you know, even if it was something small, like my sports were canceled, or, you know, I'm missing my friends. And that's why I love Brene Brown, because the way that she explains these points is salient. But what she said was that by not acknowledging the disappointment, it doesn't benefit those who have less than you. It just makes you less empathetic. I thought that was a really good reminder that all of the feelings are valid right now, even if they're about seemingly small things, because we're all under a new norm and a new pressure. So with that, I would say if you have some questions and comments, feel free to hang in and ask them. And otherwise, have a great day. And, you know, thank you everybody for all of the additions and contributions. And, you know, let us know what else you're curious about, if you'd like to get together again, or if there's any support that you need or that other folks in our community need right now. And enjoy your little ones. Bye.
Thank you.